Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I feel like doing a little bit of sewing, so I thought this is what I can do. I'm going to teach you guys how to do the crazy quilt panels. Then I will turn those panels into a tote bag in another video, and I will show you guys how to do the pocket in that video. And I won't forget this time. So I just think it would be too much all in one video, so we'll take care of the block or the panels today, and then the next video you'll see how we can magically put it all together. So let's go on over to the sewing machine. You want to grab some fabric that you're not in love with. Make sure it is not stretchy, and it's better that it's not like a slinky fabric, like you don't want satin or something like that. 100% cotton or a cotton poly blend is good as long as it doesn't have any stretch. If you don't have fabric or fabric scraps for this project, go shopping at the thrift store and pick up a bunch of flannel shirts or something, and you can use that for fabric, or just go shopping in your own closet. So I'm going to cut 2 panels. This will be turned into a tote bag in a future video, so if you want to actually do this to make a tote, then cut the size tote you'd like. You know, something like 15 by 15 is good, but I'm going to just estimate, because I like to just sew and then I'll trim my squares after. So let's go here, which is like almost 16. I'm going to make a big tote this time. And like almost 16. For the sake of this video, I'm going to just do 1 panel just to make the video a little bit shorter. So I have to dig up some scraps. Hang on. While I was pulling out fabrics, I found this piece. It is, I believe it's black and pink polka dots. I want to use this for the lining. So it's good to know what you want for the lining before you start, because then I can make sure some of this is actually in the patchwork. Just makes it look like it belongs together that way. I also wanted to mention that for your foundation piece, you could use an old pillowcase, old sheets. You could cut up old sheets. You could even use those in the actual tote. You can use any kind of fabric you want. For the foundation piece, you don't want stretchy, but for the scraps, you can use stretchy if you know how to sew with stretch fabric, or you can iron a fusible facing on it and so it doesn't stretch anymore. Here's some different fabric scraps I came up with. I got some browns and a little bit of this silver and white, some of this, some green and some pink flannel like this. This is a project that went wrong, so I'm going to cut the squares apart and use the fabric. Some like that, some black, just all kinds of things. And I do want to make sure that I have some of this in there, so maybe I'll use this for the center. So let me press a piece of this and cut it out, and I'll show you how we get started. Now, as I said, I will only be showing you how to make the panel in this particular video, but since I am planning in advance and I know that I'll be turning the panels I make today into a tote, I want to make sure I know what I want for the lining, and I'm going to just cut a nice generous piece here to turn into scraps. Put that aside. This is actually a slinky fabric, but I'm good with that. So I just folded that over, and I'm going to make 2 centers. I'm going to do a 5-sided crazy quilt. So I just need to turn this into 5 sides, and they don't have to, the 2 pieces don't have to match, but I'm going to start out by matching them up. So I have 1, 2, 3, let's see here, 4, 5. So I have 2 pieces that have 5 sides. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm going to take my panel. You take your center. If you have fabric that has like a flower or something and you want to feature that as your center, then you certainly can use that. Just throw it somewhere, and you want it not perfectly centered. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to grab any piece of fabric, and I'm going to want to sew a piece of fabric right here. You can choose any side to start with. Now the thing to remember, let me go get a ruler so I can show you what I'm talking about. Now I will be sewing this way along here, but when I fold it back, I want to make sure there's enough fabric. So this piece is right here. We're going to want to be trimming that this way and this way. to line up with the lines on the side. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but let's just go over to the machine and I'll show you. Okay, I just sewed and I explained, but I was not recording. So let me just tell you what I did. Here's my center piece. I put this piece on top and I matched the edges and I just made a stitch along the top. I started my needle where my bottom fabric starts and I stopped my needle where my bottom fabric stops. So when I flip this over, I will be able to cut this part of the fabric off because it's not sewn on there, just like this side is not sewn on. When I put my top fabric on, I try to make sure I can see my bottom fabric sticking out a little bit, so I know when I sew that I catch it, that it's not just going to, not be sewn in. And then I also that way can see where my fabric starts and stops, so I know where to start my needle, where to stop my needle. You can even feel the edge of the fabric underneath, so you know, oh, there's the edge. If you go over a little bit or not enough, that's fine. Now I'm going to go and press this like this first to set the seam, and then I will open and press it open. And I'll meet you at the other table. I have done this so many times that I just know automatically where I am supposed to cut. We just sewed this piece on, so we want to make it even to this side and to this side. I know I'm just going to start cutting here, and I'm going to cut here, but if you want, you can take a ruler. You could even draw a line on your fabric with a piece of chalk if you wanted, so you can know that this is your cutting line. But I'm just going to eye it. And it does not have to be perfect. I'm going to move that off. Let's see, I'm going to make this a little bit shorter here. And I'm going to cut even there. So there's our first piece. I just cut this here because I didn't want it to be a point. I want to keep it as a straight edge. If you would have ended up with a perfect point, you just cut the point off so you can still keep 5 sides. All right, we did this one. Now we're going to do, I keep banging on the table and I know that makes the camera shake, I'm sorry. Now we're going to do a piece here. And you don't want it to match either of these pieces. Let's go with, ooh. Now this is a stretchy fabric, but I'm okay with stretchy. I'm going to do some pink leopard. I'm just going to eye it, and so it's easier to handle. I'm going to just cut a piece off. I'm going to go press it. So I know it's going to go this way, so I want to flip it this way, the right sides together. I can see my fabric underneath, which is what I want, and I'm just going to stitch right along there. Okay, let's see if I can remember to show you this time. See, you can see that I have my fabrics down right sides together, and I'm going to start where my bottom fabric is. I can feel it. It's right there, and I will stop down here. So let's go put the needle right there. Just going to go straight line. Fabric is very forgiving, so you just don't have to worry about if it's perfectly straight or any of that stuff. Okay, I'm going to the ironing board. I'm going to press it this way first, just at the seam, and then when you flip it, you can press it down that way. So now we have sewn on our second piece. So we want to even it up with this line and this line. Again, if you wanted, you could take your ruler and then, get an idea of where you're supposed to cut, but I'm going to eye it. I'm just going to cut straight along that line. And I want to match up with this line here. And I'm going to keep it big like that. You can use big pieces, little pieces. You can put little strips, and it just, the more variation, the crazier it is, and that's what you like. I'm going with kind of big pieces just so it doesn't take me a year. Now we did this piece. We're working on number 3. What can we do with this one? Let's do something. Ooh, let's put a pop of color in there. Okay, I'm going to cut this like that and get that. I am going to cut my selvage edge off because that's always thicker and it just doesn't fold over as good. So this piece is going to go like this. Now this line is going to be cut like this, so I want to make sure I have enough sticking out here how can I explain that to you? I'm going to be wanting to cut along this line. So see, if I put this way like this, I wouldn't have enough green to make it straight. See? It needs to come to here. So that's why you want to be generous on both ends. That's going to be good. I'm going to fold it over like this. Make sure I see my fabric underneath. I feel like I am terrible at explaining things. It's hard to explain things, and it's what stops me from doing tutorials. But I'll get better at it with some practice. And I think if you just try it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. It really is a very fun sewing project, and it is such a nice way to use up scraps. And if you ever have scraps that are too small to make a whole piece, you sew some scraps together and you use that as your strip. That's why it's called a crazy quilt. You can do anything you want. Like I said, I'm going to go set my seam, which relaxes the thread. I couldn't think of that word before. Then I will open and press. It's looking so pretty. So right here, it might not show like there's an edge here, but we're following this as the cutting line and this as the cutting line. See? So if I took some chalk, I would draw like that. But I'm going to just eye it. I'm going to just start where my pink fabric is and just going to cut right off. Now I'm going to turn it to this side. And I'm going to just cut that right off. Now we're doing this side. How about a piece of this stuff? That looks pretty fancy. Just gonna flip it over. Go and sew. It really goes fast if you use, decent sized pieces of fabric. Put this piece down. Remember, you always start your needle where the fabric on the bottom is. And if you are freaked out about not knowing how to sew in a straight line, you can take some chalk and with a ruler just mark your lines. If you want to mark your sewing line, you can. None of that's going to show. And I'm stopping at my bottom fabric. You get a lot of exercise doing this because you get up after every piece. That'll work. I'm going to go set my seam and then press open. You do really want to press each time. You will save yourself a world of headaches if you don't press. Things get bumpy and wrinkled. I personally like a crazy quilt pattern with smaller pieces of fabric. I should say narrower. I like a lot of fabric in my quilt, but again, I'm doing this with big pieces just for the sake of time. Okay, so this is the one I sewed on, so I want to level up to that line, right across, and to this line. Now when you cut like this, make sure you lift your fabric so you don't accidentally cut your foundation underneath. Now if I wanted, this is pretty rectangular. I'm going to put my scissors here and I'm going to cut it like at an angle. Let's make it funkier. So see, I just changed the shape of that. Now we're going to do the fifth one. You'll notice our center. So far we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're just going to go around again. So what do we want there? What do we want there? Well, let's see. I have a piece of flannel on this side. So let's put a piece of flannel on this side. Do like. I'm going to cut a big hunk of this. I don't care how I cut it. Alright, so let's just say for the heck of it, I'm just trying to figure out what kind of piece I want there. Making my own scraps. Alright, I am going to go press this, and that's going to look nice right there like that. I'm going to put my fabric down like this. Let's see, make sure that I have enough on each end, and I do. And just going to sew right there. You know the drill. Set the seam and then press open. I will also be showing you the strap in the tote video. Okay, I just want to match up that line. This is my piece. I want to even it off with this end. And we have made one complete revolution. Now we just start over. Now I start to look at things like, do I want something that kind of matches something on this side or not? And I think I will. I think I'll put some of this white with silver. Let's see, do we have anything long enough that's a scrap? We do. I like that. It's triangular, but it will fit there. So I'm going to just fold that over like this, take that to the machine and sew. Just have my little triangular piece here. I'm just going to put it against the edge of the fabric. Off we go. I really like this one. Now my line is this way. And then on this side, I really don't have anything to cut, so I'm just going to leave that like that. We still need a piece here. See, this starts here, so we're going to go from here to here and cover this part, so it covers that edge. So what do we want to put there? You just don't want something that's already there. So we don't want this, we don't want the pink, we don't want the white. We can use, and I try to find something that I have a scrap for. That's not long enough. Ooh, let's add a little bit of this stuff. So let me just cut a piece of this, and I'm going to just sew that. Oh, I'm going to cut my selvage off. I'm going to go like that. Off to the machine. Okay, just laying my strip down. Right to there. Set and press. Now at this point you can see we're right off our foundation. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm just going to cut kind of sort of close to the foundation piece. Like that. We just sewed this one, so now we're going this way. What can we use? Let's use something we haven't used yet. Let's use a piece of this. Like that. Okay, gonna sew down this piece. First I'm going to cut this line, and again, I don't want to cut my foundation underneath. Go to that edge. Well, I'm having trouble. There. I don't throw away anything. I save little pieces like that. Okay, now I could either flip it over or I'm just going to cut this way. Now at this point, I could finish this corner now, but I like to just keep going in the order that I'm going in. So now we need a big, long piece of fabric that's going to go all the way down. How about we use this, since it's long? Okay, so I don't want this piece of fabric to cover the whole final part here of this, so I'm just going to cut like a strip. Let's go like at an angle, like that. Now I can decide which way do I want it, this way or this way. I like this way. So I'm going to bring that to the machine and sew it down. I just sneezed like 10 times. No, more like maybe 4. But if I sound congested, that's why. And yes, it made me mad. I get mad when I sneeze, I don't like it. Here we go. We just added this piece, and I'm just going to trim it like that. We're going this way now. Let's see, we haven't used any more of the black and pink, so let's do that. Right there, that'll be good. I'm just going to cut a piece off without cutting my foundation. Let's see, how do I want it? Like this? Yeah, that'll be good. Alright, we're going to do another piece like this to match the center. We'll try to stick one on the other corner. First, let me trim this line. And again, I'm just going to show you I want to follow the straight line. So I'm just going to start like here without cutting my foundation. If you cut your foundation, it's not the end of the world. Now, I need a long piece this way. How about we do this brown that's in this corner? Right here. Oh, is it long enough? It isn't. Let's see if I have a longer piece. I don't. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sew 2 pieces together. So I'm just going to cut like this. Make it match like that. I'm going to sew these 2 pieces together right there, press it open, and then I will come back and fit it here. Okay, I want to make sure I sew these right sides together, and I'm actually going to try to match up that pattern right there. Good enough. Now I'm going to just go press that open. Now I have a piece long enough, just like that, and sew down. We are getting there. Since this piece is all off the edge, I'm just going to flip it over and do a rough cut. We are going to go around this whole piece to secure the edges after we square it up. We have 2 more places that need to be finished. That's going to be there. This piece is completely off the foundation, so we're going to flip and just trim. Now, all we have left is this corner right here. Let's put another piece of this green. I think I'm going to like that. Just like that. Right there. Last piece. Set and press. And again, we're completely off the foundation, so we're going to flip and trim. Now it is time to square up our square. Now is when you can decide how big you want your tote to be. I don't want to cut off too much of what I just did, so I'm going to trim it to like 15 by 15 or 16 by 16. Can I get a whole 16? Well, it looks like I can get 15 this way, and you can make it like, it doesn't have to be a square, it can be a rectangle. So what I do is, I don't know how much you can see of this. I just put it on my mat, and I'm going to start my first edge. I just use the edge of my mat as my cutting guide. And then I'm going to turn it and put that edge. Can I do 16? Nope. So I'm going to do 15. So I have it on the 15-inch line, and I'm going to cut on the edge, which actually gives me like an extra ½ inch. And as long as this edge is straight on that line, this edge is going to be too. Now I'm going to put this edge, which is straight, on a line. You can use a rotary cutter and a ruler. It's probably the easiest way, this way, all the way around. Oh, can I do 16? I can. All right, so I'm going to do 16 that way. Now we're going to the machine, and we are going to just stitch right next to the edge all the way around to hold our edges in place. Let me try to show you here. Just like, a 1/4 of an inch in. You just want to be close to the edge. Oh, running out of thread. I don't want to spin a bobbin right now, so I'm actually going to just use this one that I already have. It's maroon, doesn't matter. It will not show. Now we go again. Don't freak out if things aren't perfectly even. Doesn't have to be, I promise you. I actually could have pressed this before I cut it square. Kind of forgot that. Doesn't matter. I will press it now though, and then we'll flip it over and see the magic. Are you ready? Voila! I just love it. It's gonna make such a bright and fun and funky tote bag. Let's go sit at the computer and I'll show it to you there. I know we're in the darkness, but I want it dark. I just love this one. I love them all. I've got to tell you a secret. I have stacks of just blocks like this that I don't do anything with because I just like to make the blocks. I'm not as interested in making, well, I like to make the totes, but, like quilts. I would love to make quilts. They're so beautiful, but what am I going to do with quilts? I know now. I could put them on eBay. I want to make some quilts now. Okay. I know it's dark in here, but this is what we have. And it's nice and funky. I really love it. And here's what I've decided. This is part 1. We did the quilt blocks. You're going to make 2 of these if you want to make the tote. You need to make 2 blocks the size you want, and I do suggest that you use a little bit of each fabric that you used on this side. Doesn't have to be in the same order, and your centers don't have to be the same either. If you want to do something different in the other center, you can. It can be all different fabrics, it's up to you. But if you want it to look cohesive, if that's the look you're going for, doesn't matter what order you put the fabrics in, but if you put something of each one of these in the other piece, they're going to look like they match. This is video number 1. I'm going to do the strap in a totally separate, all by itself video, because it's a little bit to explain. Then we'll do the lining and the pocket in a video. Then we'll do the 4th video, putting it all together. How does that sound? And I'm not going to make you guys wait long. We're going to just, do this, get it done. While waiting, you can start working on making 2 of your panels. Make as many as you want. I hope you enjoy. I hope you can understand. Please be patient with me. It's very hard to explain things because I've never put thought into how I do things. I just do them. So it's hard to explain what I do. But thank you for watching, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye! Oh, and remember, this will eventually be on eBay. So if you don't feel like sewing, stick around because you might be able to win it.